idea of what your terminal values are, it helps you to take out those stressful things. Because if a terminal value of mine is not to get a new car, when I see an advertisement for a new car, I just throw it away. I don't even read it. I don't even think about it. I don't let it add stress to my life. Why? Because it's not an end value for me. It's not important to my life, so I don't think about it. You know. Now, if there's an advertisement for a big screen TV and that's an end value of mine, well, then I'll take a look at it. But see, knowing what you're doing. Now, we talk bigger than that. Getting a degree, getting married, getting a job, those types of things. Knowing what your terminal value is, and the more precise that you can be about these terminal values, the better. That's one of the things we do with education. Help you try to understand who you are, how has God created you, what does He want you to do in life. And as you get that narrower focus, that end value helps you know which direction to go. Because I don't care about the house, I don't care about the forest, I don't care about the witch's castle, I don't care about anything else. I'm just going to Oz, and that's where I'm going. And so nothing else will deter me. And that helps reduce so much stress in your life because you don't worry about all the other options. Okay? The other thing are called instrumental values. Instrumental values. This is really the how we get there. You're getting a degree. I mean, that's what you're seeking after. That's an end value. An instrumental value is how you get that degree, in the sense of what are the things that you're going to value, like integrity. No, it's totally spelled out. Integrity. Integrity is important to me. So if I have an assignment in front of me, I want a degree. That's my terminal value. But how do I get this assignment done? One way, plagiarize. I can do that. Or if I have a value of integrity, then I'm not going to plagiarize. See, I don't even have to make the choice. By knowing what my values are, the choice is already made for me. I don't have to stress about it. I don't have to wonder, should I do it this way? I could do it this way. No. My values are set. I know what my values are. And so this is what I'm saying, probably the most important piece of this whole discussion, and we're going to talk about other elements of good psychological hardiness. But one of the most important pieces are defining what are your end values. And I'd have maybe 5 to 8 end values. What are things that you want to accomplish in this life, maybe over the next year, 5 years, 10 years? What are those end values? But I would take time to list out just as much, about 5 to 10 instrumental values that are important to you. God, family, integrity, what are those things that are important? And see, here's the point. When Glenda gave Dorothy the yellow brick road, she said, walk on this road and you'll get to Oz. It's whenever Dorothy left the road that problems occur. Because when she left her values, things started to break down. And I'm just telling you, here's your castle. Oh no, I'm going to try to draw something. Okay, here's your little castle. If you define your values, what you're doing is you're defining your path about how to get where you want to go. Integrity. That means I don't choose plagiarism as a possible thing. Cheating is not a possible thing. When I have a choice of what to do this weekend, if family is important to me, well, the decision, I don't have to stress about the decisions. Why? Because family's first. It's a value. So I don't have to stress about making the decision. Hopefully that'll help. This is a great little tool in dealing with this issue of the yellow brick road. Now, once you have that, we can continue the journey. Let's come back here and continue the journey. All right. The first character that Dorothy comes up against is the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow. And I think of the Scarecrow as remember, he didn't have a brain. That was his problem. He didn't have a brain. So when we talk about Scarecrow, what we're talking about is knowledge. Every journey to change or a stressful event that comes your way gives you a chance to learn new things. It's kind of what you're doing right now in this class, just learning something new. When I ended up in the hospital, I learned a lot of things. I finally figured out what stat was. Figured out why they wear green outfits, I figured out all the things that were mysterious to me in Munchkinland. New job, you got to learn all those things. the whole point is psychologically hardy people see stressful events as an opportunity to learn something. I can become better. I can become smarter. I can become more knowledgeable. If when you interact with stressful events and you know what your pathway is, then start learning things. When challenges come your way, be like, wow, this is awesome. What am I, see all this stuff I'm learning? That's what we want to do as we journey down the road. The next character she comes into contact with is the Tin Man. If you remember, the Tin Man's problem is he had no heart. Nothing there, okay? What's great about the journey is that as we experience stress, as we experience change and distress, what we really begin to do is, if we open our hearts up to it, we can begin to become sympathetic and empathetic. Sympathetic to those who have gone before us, or empathetic to those who have gone before us, and to those who will come after us. I always tease seniors on campus when I deal with them on the on-campus environment. Why are you so mean to the freshmen? You know what it was like, you know? They don't get this lesson. They didn't gain any heart. The idea is, you know, maybe you're an employee, and you knew what it was like to become a new employee, all the things you had to learn, and the stress and everything else. Well, through that experience, if you allowed the Tin Man to grow in you, what you've allowed is when another employee begins, that you will show kindness to that individual. Because you can sympathize, you can empathize with what they're going through. And so you learn to have a more tender heart. When I deal with missions trips and I take people to other countries and they get to see what life is like in third world countries, it's one thing to teach in the classroom or the online lecture room about those sorts of things. It's quite different when you actually touch the life of an individual and your heart opens up and you begin to care because you've seen it, you've been there, you've touched it. So I want you to understand, every event that you go through, these stressful events, change the way you think about it. See it more as the opportunity to gain a heart, to grow in love and compassion for what happens around you. It's a great way to look at it, the Tin Man. And then third, she came across the lion who had no courage, the cowardly lion, nothing there, scared, which is a lot of times what we feel like going through stress. And I'll tell you, again, go back to my hospital day. I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't know what was going on. And that's scary, you know? And so we shake in our boots wondering what's going to happen. Well, one of the great things is as we go through the journey with the support of the friends around us, as we learn new things, what we begin to do is we begin to grow in courage. See, facing hard events helps us face other hard events better if we gain courage from it. We become more bold, maybe more excited about change and challenge because we know we did it before. We know that God was faithful in the last journey, and so we begin to rely on His presence, and we can become more bold as we move forward in future kind of experiences. And so that's part of that learning process as well. So as you look at those three, flip out real quick. Here's our three characters. As you look at those three, again, the journey is that we'll gain knowledge, we'll grow in our understanding of things, our heart will change because we'll become more compassionate, and we grow in boldness to deal with. And I think that was or deal with new issues, which is the whole idea of James, where he's talking about perseverance. That's this. So that we may be mature and complete. Mature knowledge, complete heart. That's the whole journey, all right, as we move through there. Now, that wasn't the whole journey, though, because there's other parts to it. Let's move to the next slide. And that's the bad part. So move to the next slide. And that is the witch. Because in every journey, there's always evil. It's always present, okay? It's always going to happen. Because if the very point that it is a journey is because other things, or that it's a challenge, is other things are pressing on you to force you to make different choices. And the witch is all about that. From the beginning, she tried to deter Dorothy's path of get to Oz, to get her focus off of Oz, or to get her off the yellow brick road, which is really the whole point. Now, let's understand this, though. The witch, this is very theological here. The witch really has no power. All her power was in her broom. You know, I noticed that. It's a broom that she does things with and so on. She's really pretty powerless, and all Dorothy had to do was take that broom away from her and really caused her death and so on. So I want you to understand this. When we talk about evil, you know, the devil and Satan and his presence, let's understand, Jesus died on the cross. And the moment he did that, he totally stripped the devil of all his power. No power whatsoever. The only power the witch really has is the power that we give the witch. I find this true even in psychology. Usually we give others much more power in our life than we actually should. We're really the ones that hold a lot of our ability to get better. But many times we give the witches in our life, oh, that's a terrible thing. The witches in our life a lot more power than they should. All right? So that's what she's going to do. She's going to come along, because see, the path, the yellow brick road, if she could get you off your values, you could get this assignment done by cheating, my pretty. See, and in the moment you think about that, she's got you off your path, now you're lost. And guess what? Stress, guilt, all these things that go into these psychoses and everything else, that's exactly what happens. That's why knowing what our path is, knowing what our end goal is, and knowing what our values are so important as we process. Because she's going to try to destroy that. She's going to try to destroy the knowledge you're gaining. She's going to try to destroy the compassion you're gaining. And she's going to try to break down the courage that you're growing with. But remember, all you have to do is reach out and take her broom. And she's powerless. But to do that, that means you have to identify what's the one thing you fear. It's not the witch. The witch holds the power. So what's that one thing that you fear? And then reach out and say, I'm not going to let you take that. That's mine. I'll control that. And that'll help you get through the crisis situation. Next slide. Bad thoughts. Oh, green monkeys. I had to include this. There's green monkeys that fly around all the time. These are bad thoughts that come into our lives, you know, it makes us think bad things. But for every bad thought, go to the next slide, there's a good thought. Toto is always there. He's our faithful companion. And whenever we feel like breaking down, you know, a little reminder that things are good. And you know what else? Dorothy's not on the slide here, but Dorothy carries with her a basket everywhere she goes. And in that basket, she has all these little tools that she takes out. You know, her little oil can, she has her little apple and things like that. Look, through your journey, collect things, collect tools that'll help you. Devotionals, thoughts, scripture readings, quotes, friends, resources. Put that all into your basket of life, because whenever you deal then with a challenge or a change, you can reach into that basket and say, I have something for that. I have something for that. For you, or if you're the professional helping somebody else, you have something for them that they can utilize. All right, next slide. Oh, hitting the wall. Okay, this always happens. Let me put the witch down for a moment. Never fails. We're going through things. Things are going great. I'm learning. I'm growing in compassion. I am growing in courage. And then, bam, we hit the wall. It just all falls apart. This happens in almost every movie. You know, hero's doing great, everything's wonderful, and then all falls apart. Okay, we call that hitting the wall. Happens during the poppy field. Just everything breaks down. They all fall asleep and they're done. Guess who shows up? La la la. Linda shows up. And what does she do? She does her little wand thing again, and she lets it snow, and everything's wonderful again. Look. You're going to hit the wall. It's going to happen. Stressful events almost always cause us to hit the wall at some point. It's okay. What we need at that point in our life is someone to come into our life and be that friend to help encourage us again on the journey. And what's amazing is once we get back up again, we usually catch our second wind. Boom, we're ready to go. Now, if you're the professional or you're the friend, you need to watch in the lives of other Dorothys around you when they need help, and they need you to reach out and to be that encouraging person to help them along the way. So that's what we mean by the poppy field. All right, next slide. The Wizard. He's an interesting character. Now, of course, a new film just came out, I think, within the last couple of weeks when this lecture was taped, of the new Oz, the Great and Powerful. And one of the things we find out is he's a sham. He's not really all that powerful. When I think of the Wizard, what I think of are pastors, counselors, professors, these highly trained, highly certified, diplomaed individuals with letters after their name They're supposed to solve all our problems. They're shams. I am one of them. And what I mean by a sham is this. Actually, go to the next slide. When it came time for the Tin Man to get his heart, he gave him a clock. When it came time for the Scarecrow to get his brain, he gave him a rolled up piece of paper. When it came time for the Lion to get his courage, he just gave him a medal. And he couldn't even get Dorothy in the balloon. He ended up going back himself. Why? Because here's the point. Those people are professionals, and there's things that they can help you do, but they're not the ones that are responsible for it. They don't have a magic wand to fix everything. Not even Glenda could do that. The witch, with all her magic, could not fix the problem. And that's going to be important because you can become more stressed when you really begin to look at other people and you start blaming other people for why you are in the fix that you're in. If only the wizard could get me out. The pastor needs to tell me. The psychologist needs to tell me. My counselor needs to tell me. And we're waiting for them to give us a pill or a wand or a routine or a book or something to help fix all my problems so they just magically go away. It's not going to happen. And you need to hear that. Because if you're going to grow from the experience and have good psychological hardiness, it's going to come not because you lean on some professional to tell you what to do. All the professional can really do is point out that the Tin Man already had empathy. He just gave him a heart to give him something physical. That the Lion already had courage. That the Scarecrow already had brains. And here's the most important thing. That Dorothy already had what she needed to get through the journey. Let's go to the next slide. Those dang ruby slippers. You know, this part of the movie drives me nuts. Because within the first few minutes of that movie, those golden slippers were on Dorothy's feet. It could have saved me 2 more hours of Munchkin singing and everything else. But I had to put up with all that because she didn't know how to use those ruby slippers. And this is the point. I want you to hear them. Those ruby slippers, what they represent are God's empowering in your life to do what needs to be done, to be able to get through what you need to get through. God says He does not tempt us, and I might even add maybe perhaps challenge us more than what we can bear. The idea is that God has instilled in us the spirit, the capability, the mind, the compassion to be able to get through the problems. And we will come to find out, all that Dorothy had to do is click her heel 3 times and say, there's no place like home. And poof, there she was back home. Now here's the point. There comes a point in your problems, in your stress, in your issues, in your challenge, that you have to make a decision to do something about it, to grow past it, to see, you know what, I've gained knowledge, I've gained empathy, I've gained compassion, I've gained courage. I understand my values, I understand what I want, and I understand how to get there. And you know what? It's not because some professional is going to do it for me or give me a pill for it. Because what it is me clicking my heels 3 times and going forward and moving forward. And that's really what psychological hardiness is. Psychological hardiness is this decision, and I think you can go to the next slide, which is kind of hard. Well, psychological hardiness, that's fine, you can stick here. I get into this new situation. Do I stay in the house or do I make the journey? If I make the journey, I have the opportunity to learn and to grow and change. It's not going to be easy all the time. There's a witch after me. You know, he's trying to break it all down. But if I keep my eye on the prize, this again, scripture talking right here. Keep my eye on the prize, the perfecter and the author of my faith, and I run the race, putting aside the sins and things behind me because I'm going to run the race. Even though the psychologists and the pastors can't help me, you know what? God's by my side, and He's empowered me to do this. And because of that, I don't need to stress about what I'm dealing with. Sure, stress is going to come my way, but I can look at it as positive stress that'll help me gain knowledge, gain empathy, gain courage, so that I can make it through it. And why? Because in the end, Dorothy went back, and what's so great about the movie is she goes back to black and white. But her vision, her inner vision, her perspective totally has changed now. What she didn't value before, now she values. What she didn't like before, she now likes. What she didn't understand to love before, she now embraces. And that's what's great about good psychological hardiness, is we can go through the change, we can go through this crisis, and come out of it on the other side with a brand new perspective. Now you really understand. And that is really what stress management is all about, at least with psychological hardiness. Now again, you go back to the beginning of the lecture. Every one of us deals with stress. We all deal with stress. It's how you perceive that stress that's going to matter whether it's distress or eustress. And if you take this perspective, that James' perspective, that every crisis, every change is really a challenge or an opportunity to better yourself, to grow in knowledge, to grow in heart, and to grow in boldness, and you begin to see that God has empowered you in the journey, there's no reason to distress about the issues that come your way. You can see it as eustress. Those things that are moving you up that inverted U, that cause you actually to do better, 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 and better. If you're a professional, then you understand better your role in coming alongside somebody, coming alongside a Dorothy, and helping them gain new knowledge, gain empathy, gain courage, empowering them by giving them the tools, path goal theory, by giving them and removing the obstacles out of their way so that they can make the journey. If you think about it that way, you'll do great. So, blessings on you. Have a stress-less life, I pray. Bye.